Listen, if someone wants to be in a relationship or really like someone,
you'll know.
You will know.
You will fucking know.
I would be like, okay, let's hang out. I'm not going to have the baby, though. I'm going to have so-and-so watch the baby.
Hola, full familia. ¿Cómo estás, mi gente?
¿Cómo estás? Muy bien. Muy bien.
There we go.
¿Cómo estás?
I was
Muy
feeling
bien.
I literally buttoned this and Laura's like, please do the intro like this. Lean like a cholo. Like, I feel very that. Let's go to the Charger game.
I wish we could do a full episode in Spanish, but unfortunately.
For us both. Unfortunately for us both.
Imagine.
I cannot speak Spanish.
Hola.
Olo. Like cholo and hola combined.
No.
Olo.
Hola. ¿Cómo estás? Muy bien.
Yes. ¿Cómo estás?
Full familia.
There we go. Hola is like hi. ¿Cómo estás is like how are you? Muy bien is I'm
good.
How are you? I'm good.
Por favor is please.
Yes.
And that's it.
Laura is invited to the carne asada.
Hey! 1,000%.
Yeah, you know what asada means. I know you know what that means.
Baby, I'm the first one lined up. I'm lined up.
Where is her margarita with salt?
And
spicy
a
marg, of course.
jalapeno chopped up inside.
There we go. A spicy marg. It's full fam.
Full. It's full familia.
Full familia.
That's what it is.
It's for our Latinx out there.
Oh.
For the Latinx.
Shout out to you, boo.
We love you. We love you all. We love everyone who watches us. You guys, today's episode, we thought it'd be really fun to bring back a little segment we've done in the past where we gave advice solicited.
We done this?
We've given advice before, like in the years ago. Like we've done things where remember we like read off secrets and we gave advice. Like we did that like a long time ago.
This time they're like writing like paragraphs of situations.
Now that they can.
And we're getting in deep.
No, it's gotten like we got fierce ones. Like we got some ones that were like I feel like this would actually be a really, really good thing to talk about for just like
everyone.
For everyone. As just a whole in general. So we actually thought it would be better for us to just skip peaks and pits.
And get right
in. For the
in.
sake to like give you guys more when it comes to the advice segment, so we can just take on more advice for the hour time being. You know what I mean? So we're gonna skip peaks and pits for this week, and we will just go right into the advice column, the advice segment. This is full 101. What could this be called? Like if we were to do like a mini segment.
Advice. Well, we used to say it's advice you didn't ask for, but they technically did.
Yes, they did. It's solicited advice. It's solicited like when you ask.
It's unsolicited is when you don't
ask. So solicited is when you ask.
So this is your solicited advice.
This is your solicited the advice you asked for.
Yeah.
And we're giving you what needs to be given.
I want to start off light. I have like one that's not like really
turmoil,
deep, but like I do. But at the same time, I feel like so many people need to hear this advice. So that's why I want to start with it.
Let's start off light.
Okay. We're not going to read any names. We're going to keep you guys anonymous, but we will be reading what you wrote. So just know that. Okay. How do I get over severe anxiety of job interviews? And not just normal anxiety. I mean, crippling, panic attacks type of anxiety about job interviews. So I think a lot of people have this going into something new. Like trying something new, doing something new. The anxiety monster comes and attacks. And one thing I want to offer to you is I really, 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 really think you would benefit from reading the book, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyways by Susan Jeffers. If you're not a reader, it is a very small book. You can read it in a week and you can change your life in a fucking week. If you don't like to read and it's boring to you, it's on audiobook for a couple $.
Nice.
They've sold 15 million copies.
Oh my God.
Okay. So it is
a bestseller.
Oh, baby. It is like an iconic book. The book I read on manifestation, the orange book, she wrote the book because of Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway.
Oh.
Yeah, so this book is like major life-changing.
It's like Blueprint vibe.
It's Blueprint. So first of all, I really, really, really think you should read the book because she literally speaks on exactly what you're talking about. And she even, I think there's a chapter where she talks about a lot of people have it with interviews.
I mean.
So it's like perfect, but I will give you some advice anyways, and Manny, you chime in too. One, I don't want you to have the understanding of thinking that just because people show up confident means they didn't have anxiety about it and you're the only one that had anxiety. those people took the anxiety into the interview with them, and they showed up anxious, and they did it anyways. And that is because they chose to have power over their life. They chose to take the power back. And a lot of this book talks about that.
Yeah.
Because there's a misconception of, I have anxiety, but this person shows up confident, so it's me that has the anxiety.
Doesn't mean they don't have it.
No.
Yeah.
Everyone, when they try something new,
will have some anxiety.
I think there's levels to it for sure.
I would say, but still, 99% of people will have anxiety about something.
And that's a fact too.
Factually.
Like truly a fact.
You're gonna get a little nervous, and that's anxiety, like kind of playing control.
It's anxiety. Sometimes it gets out of control. But the point is like having power. Whenever you go into something scared with anxiety, you chose to have power over your life, and you chose to sit in the driver's seat of your life and show up with anxiety and with fear. So don't ever make the mistake of thinking everyone's so confident, this is so easy for everyone. I have anxiety and I can't do it. It's not true. Other people are showing up, but with their anxiety. Their anxiety's in that room with them.
My anxiety's right here.
Yeah.
It's right behind me.
You know, Manny, you've dealt with so much anxiety. And how many times in your life did you just show the fuck up, nervous, scared to death? Yeah, and you did it for yourself.
And I did it.
Because you chose to get in the power seat, in that driver's seat of your life, and take control. But dealing with the anxiety, I think there's a connection in there with you, with the change that the job interview may be bringing you. Like this new job that you might get could be bringing you a lot of that anxiety.
Absolutely. Change.
I think there might be some fears and doubts that you might need to uncover in there that's giving you a higher level of anxiety, maybe that's crippling you. Like maybe you have some fears and doubts about speaking to other people one-on-one in a room. Maybe there's something in there that's holding you back.
The fear of not getting it before you even try to get it.
That's a big one. That's a big fear.
Anxiety is the fear of the future.
Before it's happened.
So that's how I know it so well. It's because anxiety's been a close friend of mine for years. But you could be just scared of things that could transpire, but that have not happened yet. So the idea of you not getting the job before you do the interview is where anxiety kind of plays amok, and it kind of like runs around in your head, because it's like almost feels like, well, what's the point? I'm not going to get it anyway. That's anxiety. That's literally like the doubt in your mind kind of playing a trick on you. Like it's that inner voice of that saboteur inside you mixed with anxiety. That's what's happening, and you're getting this crippling anxiety. What has helped for me in my actual anxiety and what I've done was practicing. And I know it sounds like funny, like the idea of practicing an interview, but like whenever I've been anxious for something, I practiced before I did it. For example, I'm anxious for about an exam, I would do flashcards. I'm anxious for this thing, I practice it. I am the type of person where it's like, if I have repetitiveness and if I know it down, a lot of my anxiety is tied into not knowing something, right? So it's like, if you know what you're gonna say about a certain situation, why would you have anxiety about it? You already know what you're gonna say. So if you practice things ahead of time, like for example, me when I was taking anatomy, micro, these hard courses that were really, really tough, I knew that if I just knew the answer, why would I be anxious for it? I already know the answer. So when you know things are happening ahead of time, it's going to help you so much more. It gives you power.
You're most confident. And I talked to a makeup artist recently. She's like one of the most famous makeup artists ever. And I was like, I was like visiting her, and she was teaching while I was visiting her. And I literally said to her, I said, damn, you are so good at this, bitch. I was like, the way you talk and teach. And she looked at me and she said, I'm not good at everything like this. She said, I know what I'm talking about. I could talk about this in my sleep, and I've done it for so many years. That's why I'm good at this.
And she's not anxious about it
because
she knows.
She's a professional.
She knows what she's doing.
It. So you go to an interview, it's a little bit scary, but also just to relate to you, like I had a recent interview that I had to do, and this interview was like, it was.
We talked about this.
Ooh. Like this interview was like, I have to get this. It's detrimental. Like I have to nail this. This wasn't like oh well, if I don't get it.
Were you anxious about it?
Girl.
I mean, I know I meant for them.
Oh.
Yeah. I knew you were, but like anxiety is, it happens.
Fear.
It just happens.
I am telling you, for 3 days before I even went into the interview, I couldn't sleep, I couldn't shit, I couldn't eat. Okay, so don't feel alone with your anxiety, because look at all the shit I've done. And I had this big interview, and it like held my life on pause until it happened, because of the amount of anxiety, because the pressure for me to nail this interview. Okay, so the day of the interview, I have all my self-development tricks. Number one thing, we smile all day. We smile. It tricks our brain into thinking we're in a good state, whether we're anxious or nervous. So driving in my car, I don't care if I look crazy. This is for me.
Fuck it. It's for you.
This is for me. Made a playlist the night before. The playlist was all the songs that get me the most hyped ever. There were RuPaul songs on the playlist.
Yeah.
So the whole drive there, I looked fucking crazy because it was like
Smiling,
7 a.m.
blaring.
I am smiling in my car. I have the playlist going and I have the music turned all the way up. Boom, boom, boom. I never drive like that, okay? But I'm doing it because I'm putting myself in this state.
To Charlie XCX
Bitch,
in the car.
I literally was in my business suit. Literally like, Okay, third thing I did. This is a Tony Robbins ism, but it saves my life. So what happens is we have this chatterbox in our brain and it goes ga, 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 24/7. And it tells us all the bad scenarios, everything bad that's going to happen. You don't need any scenarios. You don't need to think about what's going to happen. You don't even need to think about any. The morning of, let it go. You say one thing in your mind, and it's the word yes. 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 Yes.
I remember when we were at the Robin thing, and it was like, yes.
That's all you do.
Yes.
My whole card right there, singing the song. We're not having a thought about the interview. We've already prepared.
Yeah.
So what happened. Right now, we're in a good state. We're singing the songs. Getting out of the car, it was a long walk to the place. Yes. Yes, yes, the whole way, not a word in. I'm not letting the chatterbox in. It's not going to deter me. I sit in there. I said, I'm nervous right now, and just give me 1 second because I want y'all to see who I am. I should have said that to them. I said, I want y'all to see who I am, and I'm nervous. Give me 1 minute. I took a couple deep breaths. Like really deep breaths. And I was like, it's go time. All right, let's do it. And I fucking nailed that shit.
Yeah, you did.
I was anxious. I was scared. I didn't sleep for days before. And I sat in the driver's seat of my life and I made it happen.
Absolutely. And the thing is, you guys, I actually do think that there's something very endearing about being able to be like, hey, I'm nervous for this interview right now. Like, I'm actually a little nervous. They probably saw that and they're like, bitch, absolutely.
It's honest.
It's honest. And the interviewer will understand because they've been scared about interviews before too. So if you get there, like, you know what? I'm really nervous right now. Can I just get a couple breaths? The person's going to be like, absolutely. Like, do your best version of you. They want to see you succeed just like you want to succeed in the same position. So at the end of the day, practicing quieting the noise.
Oof, that's a
quieting
big
noise is big. That's a hard one with anxiety. I'm not gonna lie, that one adds like 10
and
times
just because you're scared to do something and gives you anxiety, it doesn't mean you don't do that thing.
And you can't. And that you can't.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's just your brain telling you can't because you're scared, and your brain's scared. It doesn't want to feel the fright. But it doesn't mean you can't do it. You can still take charge of it. And the thing is, when you do it one time, you're gonna notice that the anxiety lessens every single time you become more and more acclimated to it.
Because you sat in the driver's seat, so your mind already knows what's about to happen. You're getting this routine. You train your brain of, oh, we're anxious, but we're showing up anyway, so we might as well pipe down. You know what I mean? With the anxiety.
And you didn't die. That's the thing. When you did the thing, you didn't die and you didn't freak out and go absolutely crazy. So your brain's be like, oh my God, that's not as crazy as we thought it was going to be. So you're literally tricking your brain to realize that that moment that you're having this fierce anxiety for, when you get through it, it's not going to feel the same fierceness before.
Nope.
It just won't.
It is not. You're dead right on that one. And
you never had that kind of interview before.
Never had that kind of interview. It was a different interview. You're going to be a little nervous in that moment, but I bet the next interview you have, that's like that, honey, I was excited the next one because I had another interview after that, and I was excited. And let me tell you, if you walk in there and defeat this anxiety and you show up with it, you are about to experience the biggest high of your life when you walk out of that interview, regardless of the outcome. You're going to experience such a high because of what you did. The feeling of driving your own life is a euphoric experience. It is euphoria. And when you get to walk out of there, you're going to be so fucking proud of yourself and your energy is going to be on the next level. It's just like an unreal feeling.
I couldn't agree more. Could not agree more. So that's the advice that we would give.
That's the advice.
On this kind of situation. You still gotta do it.
Read the book, prepare, and show up with the anxiety. And I would say all the little tips of getting your energy up that morning, all the little yeses and the music and the smiles is so important.
So my next one is, my boyfriend just told me he has a corn, but with a P, addiction. What do I do? Please help. That one, honestly, it's tough because you never really, I swear people don't talk about this, that corn can be such a desensitizing thing for people, and it can become very addicting for people. It says in the thing they've been together for 7 years.
That's a long time.
Has been addicted the entire time, but just now told her.
Oh my God.
And just finally has come to realize it and talk about it. So she's like, what can I do to help? My first advice immediately is whenever it comes to any kind of addiction in general, this is something that you want to seek help for, and professional help. This is not something that, like, as a partner, it could be as easy to overcome. Like, if you don't have the tools that people with knowledge about addiction have, it's not going to be the best place to go. You're not going to go to your partner for it. You're going to go to a professional, potentially even like a group setting where it's like, you know, blank anonymous or whatever kind of thing. People go because they find camaraderie in each other when it comes to addiction. You know what I mean? So I think that this is something that's really, really important to seek out professional help. And I mean, at the end of the day, he's admitting it. He's finally able to be open about it.
I think that's a really
so
big
that's already
step.
a huge step.
Huge, because then if he's admitting it to you, it's come to a point in his life where he's really realized it. Like, whoa, I have an addiction here, and that's huge.
And that's his way of almost like the flag,
Seeking
the white
help,
flag, seeking help. He's like taking that first step to be like, you know, I need to like overcome this addiction. So clearly, you know,
and the cool thing about getting therapy for that, or speaking to someone that, because like even like going to see a therapist, like not even like, I mean, there are many different people you can see about this, but if it were to be a therapist, what's cool is they're non-biased, and they actually have tools that they will give people to help people out of this that the regular person or friend or loved one doesn't necessarily have. You know what I mean?
100%. And the thing is, like, this is the importance too about like therapy and seeking out help, because everyone's situations could be different, right?
Different.
So a therapist or a professional could find things that cater to you and what applies to you and your world. A book could be great, it could be helpful, but if you find someone that helps you out specifically for your need, completely different thing, because then they could be really kind of honing in on like why it is for you. Why are you addicted to the porn? And then kind of get to the root of it, kind of figure out that situation, and then figuring out tools to move past that. And I know it's tough because no one really talks about like, you know, a corn addiction, if you will. But they do happen, especially if you have an addictive personality.
I think they're more
it's very
common
easy.
than because it's corn.
Yep.
Whereas like alcohol addiction, not that people are proud of it, but it's a little more socially acceptable, I'll say. Like drinking is, but corn may not be.
In public settings.
In public settings,
100%.
it may be like, not like people are a little more open, like, oh, I'm an alcoholic, so I don't drink. Whereas I feel like the corn thing's a little more sensitive, and I think that's why, especially seeking.
More taboo almost in a way.
It is, you know what I mean?
No one wants to talk about that.
And admit that, you know, that's a really tough thing to admit, but I think a lot more people have it than you think. You know what I mean?
100%.
100%, right?
You guys, it's a huge thing, because people have talked about what corn consumption has turned their brain into. There's a huge community that has talked about if you consume too much corn, it will debilitate your sexual life. It really will, because it's not gonna.
It's not real.
You're never
First
gonna
of all,
fulfill
it's
the
like
fantasy.
a fantasy.
So you'll never be able to have that fantasy that you're watching in real life if that's all you're doing is consuming. And the thing is, the sad reality about, you know, a corn addiction is that you're always trying to find the more intense fix.
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to want to like bust to one thing the same that you did the next day. You're like, oh, I need something that's like a little bit more intense, like to use it for, you know what I mean? So that's a part that's a little.
Not real life.
That's not real life. That's not real life. Is literally like having, you know, potentially intercourse with your partner. Like that's the reality. So especially with a partner of 7 years. So I think that at the end of the day, it's really more so about seeking professional help. This isn't something, and it's like, obviously the person that sent it to me, it's like not your fault. It has nothing to do with like you. It's really about your partner finding and seeking help, or potentially even going to a group that is, you know, sometimes when we're going through addiction issues or things like that could be happening, seeking out in a group setting could be really nice, because you hear other stories of what they're going through and you can relate to that. And that's why group therapy or group, you know, anonymous, Alcoholics Anonymous, whatever it might be, that's so helpful for people, because it's like, oh shit, like I know what you're talking about, and this is how you got through it. So maybe I can use that tool for me.
That's really good advice, man.
Yeah.
I'm proud of you.
Aww.
Okay, next one. I think I am a bad friend. I'm not sure, but I don't talk to any of my friends that I had for 10 plus years. There were never any issues or dramatic instances that made us stop being friends. I just stopped putting the effort, and I quickly saw once I didn't put the effort in, we quickly lost touch. I truly have no ill intentions or malicious feelings towards them, but I'm the only one out of my entire friend group that fell off. I need advice. Am I the bad friend? My thing is, I think it is so natural to outgrow people and to just be in a completely different segment in your life. And I get how, because they're all still friends and you're the odd one out, you naturally feel like you're the bad guy, even though you guys still like each other. Nothing happened. Like, they're not mad at you. You're not mad at them. I think we outgrow people. And maybe you've outgrown them in a way. Maybe your life has changed in a way where they're not fulfilling what they once fulfilled with you. Because if they did, I think you would naturally probably reach out and hang out with them more.
For sure.
You know, and like people want that friendship.
Yeah, they grow. People grow. They change. They seek out what they want. Like, at the end of the day, like, if you inside your heart and in your mind really want to stay friends with them, you would have. That's the reality. You even questioning, like, am I a bad friend for like wanting to do it? Like, and even still questioning, you not making an effort with them is clearly a sign of being like, you know, maybe that friendship, that group of friends that you were friends with isn't serving you anymore like it once did. Because
I feel like if you did get a gratification or anything out of it, fulfillment out of it, you would still be reaching to hang out with these people. And it's okay to make new friends that fit your growth. As human beings, we grow because of our life experiences and the wants that we want out of our life. It makes us grow and it makes us change. And a lot of times the family members, the relationships, and the friends don't get to come with us. And it's not a malicious thing. It's not a nasty thing. It's just a growth thing. And like, that friendship no longer fulfills me, or this no longer works in my life, and it's okay. I think it's so, you know, we never say it's okay.
No, never. Because the thing is, it always usually ends in a battle. That's the thing. It didn't. So the thing is, like, since it didn't end in a battle and you guys actually left on completely normal terms, it's so normal. Life gets big. Life is so big. Things can become so encompassing that sometimes there's not even room for a whole ass friend group.
So true.
Honestly,
so
there's moments when I've had, like, honestly, I ain't even like ashamed to admit this. Like, I had moments where I knew I was a bad friend in the moment because my life was too encompassing and I felt so overwhelmed with my reality that I couldn't even be there for other people in my life. And I've been in those situations before. And the thing is, that doesn't make you a bad person. It means that you were so honed in on one thing that you didn't have room for everything else. When you adjust your life and you create room for others, things change. If you want to create room, then you do. And, you know, like this friend group, you can, now that you're seeing it, thinking about it, maybe there's room in your life now where you're like, I want to make friends. I want to make new friends
that work for your new life, and that is totally okay. You know, I left Alabama and I had a big group. I was a young girl in my 20s, young 20s when leaving Alabama. I had a big group of friends there, and I knew whenever I left there and they knew we were sad and we did a go away party because we knew it was kind of like the chapter on those friendships because I was about to grow and experience an entirely new life, and then they were going to do their lives. And it's a sad thing, but it's like a part of human nature. Like, we grew apart.
Especially
Adulthood.
There
was no maliciousness in it, obviously. Like, I was going to pursue this career and it was going to take me away. Now they all stay friends. They're all still friends to this day, and I'm the odd one out because of my career path that I chose. But the crazy thing is, we all still talk, like, every couple months. We'll hit each other up and be like, you know, so happy you're doing well.
Like, San Diego friends. Exactly. I just went to Pride with them.
And it doesn't, and I understand you didn't move away or chase a career, but it's like, clearly things are happening in your life that are different, that are pulling you away, and it's okay. It's okay, but 100%. I totally get where you're coming from because they're all still friends. So you naturally go, damn, I must be fucked up because I left, you know? Definitely not the case.
I'm going to be also really real with you. If you think I'm fucked up, then you're not fucked up.
Yeah.
I'm going to be so real with you. People that are actually fucked up, evil people don't think they're fucked up.
Ever.
They literally think that they're the ones that were wronged. So
they're always the hero of their own story.
Always. So the fact that you even think, like, am I a bad person? Am I a bad friend? You having that intuition there shows that you have empathy and that you're not a bad person. Because people that are really bad people, they don't think they're bad people.
So true.
Next.
These are so good, guys.
You guys are giving, by the way.
I just want to say, you guys are giving.
You guys are literally giving
with what you're
and it's actually shaking me to my core.
Because I think what's going to happen is a lot of people are going to watch this episode and all learn from your experiences.
100%. So you being open and honest helps
everybody.
The collective.
The collective.
Okay, so this one's like a little spooky and shaky. Shook me a little bit. What should I do if I think my husband is gay? This is from a woman. I'd love him even if we were floating heads. What should I do?
Oh, no.
She'd love him even if she is so in love with him and she thinks he could be gay and she almost like wouldn't care.
If see, I like speak from me, but it's different.
Well, that's the whole point. We're speaking from our experiences. So you do have to go based off of like how you feel.
That's a really hard situation because of the love that she has for this man. Because like my first thing would be like, eventually, and while this would be like the hardest conversation ever, like I would just have to like be so
for real,
open and for real, and say and have a conversation.
What's going on?
Have a conversation.
I think honestly, that is the most important thing, because right now you're in an almost speculative state. And when you're in that constant speculative state, that's all you'll really think about, because you're so honed in and focused on like the what if. So instead of being on the what if, so into the what if section, it would be better for you to just kind of talk about it so there's no unanswered things. And the thing is, you can do it with a lot of grace and a lot of like,
you can get really far in a conversation about how you approach it. Your approach is everything. Because if you're coming from this, obviously my advice is not to ever come at it from an attacking point, because you're trying to create a resolution here and figure things out. So it's like coming from a place of love and like more like you explain, but this is like, I feel like something's going on here. Like, let's hear your point of view. You know what I mean? And like what you have the floor. I
think what's also really important in this kind of situation is that, you know, as the female in the relationship, being really like in the way of talking about it, being like, you know, have you in the conversation, this is just like me kind of like just hearsay what I could potentially think of what I would do in the situation if I was the female, being kind of like talking about what it would look like to potentially be, let's say, like, have you ever thought about sleeping with other people? Like talking about almost like this idea of like an open relationship concept. Not that you're trying to do that. This is about the conversation flow, right? This is opening up the conversation. This is not you being like, hey, are you gay? It's, have you ever thought about that? Oh, okay. Like, what would that look like to you?
Yeah.
What would that look like to you? Yeah. Okay, so like if he's like, oh, you know, like another couple. Okay, like, well, like, what if like you saw the man sleeping with me? Would that be weird? You guys, you find trails that you can always, as long as you have an idea in mind, you can always trail it back to what you needed to get to. But starting it in a conversation,
and that way they don't feel like, are you gay? Like that,
like,
because a gay person is suppressed. But what if he's suppressed too? You know, he's going to deny, and then you get nowhere with it. You know what I mean?
So it's, you have to, there is a very a delicate cadence to this kind of conversation, because again, just like you said, like, if he is gay and is so closeted, has no idea he even could be gay, he's just going to deny it because he's internally denying it as well. But if you kind of make a flow of conversation, it's going to be a different thing. It's going to flow, and you could be opening up avenues that he didn't even know he could open or talk about, and you're coming at it from a place of just sweet and honey, and like you're just being a good partner of just like having a conversation. You're not asking him right out, because the thing is, if he's straight and you're like, you're not going to really ask your straight partner, are you gay, like out of nowhere, you know what I mean? So I think that when you bring it up something like along those lines, where it's like talking about like, oh my god, like, should we spice up the bedroom a little bit, like, and then you kind of trail into conversations, that's I think the best way to go when handling this, because you'll get a lot of answers answering other things. That's my advice. That's the best advice. It's a tricky situation. Very tricky. It's very tricky. So that's why I think you have to, you navigate it in the way you can. Okay. Next one. Advice on getting the courage to leave my dead-end job when you have no money or school or anything to fall back on. Also, you're in your mid-30s, which I think mid-30s is relatively very young in the span of like an average lifetime. I think like you're only halfway there, so it's like pretty young. You guys, I'm glad you said that, because I don't like that society almost makes it where 30-year-old is like old. Like, you still have so much life after your 30s, after your 40s, after your 50s, hopefully, God willing. But like the idea of like, I'm mid-30s, oh no, like I'm already like wasting my life. That's not all your life. I think a good idea too is like, look at the perspective of you being 80, 90 years old on your deathbed, and then at that point, looking at yourself in your 30s. Like, damn, I was young. Yeah, exactly. You're going to be like, damn, I should have done everything. Life had just begun. You know what I mean? So, like, the perspective, like, people say mid-30s. I think that's a total societal standard, which brainwashes us to believe that, like, our time is up. Like, we should be settled in the life that we're going to have forever. It's the most untrue thing ever. And it's
settling.
People
It's settling.
literally change their careers multiple times in their life.
Absolutely.
It's very normal, actually.
I
Like,
encourage it.
absolutely. And like, even when she's talking about like, oh, like my mid-30s, babe, a lot of people change careers mid-30s all the time.
Super normal.
40s, they will change their career. Like, it happens because if something is not serving you, you adjust.
You have two choices: sit in it and learn to love it,
Ooh.
or change it. There's no other choice.
Mm-hmm. Or be miserable. There's the third choice, which is be miserable, and you don't want to be that.
And
you don't want that
choice. So your other two choices are learn to enjoy it or change it. That's what I always say. And also my self-development book, same thing. Learn to enjoy it or change it, because misery is your last option. And like, the point is to get out of that.
Yes.
So you either figure out how to fix it or you change it. And I think if your job is a dead end, I think we already figured out the answer there. I think it's not serving you anymore and it's time to leave it. I think there's so many options out there and niches and things to try. I just think you have to try something. If that's going back to school, that's fine, because I don't know if you guys knew this, I didn't get to go to a really cool university with a bunch of young kids. I had to work 40 hours a week and go to night school with 40 and 50-year-olds trying to get a degree to change their lives. I was one of the youngest people in all of my classes because this was night school for adults. That was my college experience that I had. So people are changing their lives and going back to school all the time. But if school's not an option for you, I think if you're already at a dead end job, I feel like you can only go up from there.
Babe, you're already at the bottom.
You're at the bottom of the
If you are
job.
essentially at a dead, like, if you feel like this is your bottom, there literally is only way to go is up.
Yep.
Is when you have to think is you have to seek that out. You have to like actively be looking at things. What makes you happy? What kind of things that you do make you happy? Can you turn that into your job? That's also like a really cool thing about social media. I'm not saying that everyone needs to be an influencer, but like social media has created these amazing opportunities for so many people, not just as an influencer, like UGC, working for a brand, doing PR consultation. There's so many things that you can do if you like something.
Right. And I feel
You have to
like
find that
in
thing,
order
though.
to find the thing too, you have to be looking. We only
Yes.
find what we look for, right? If we're never looking, we're never going to find it. So it constantly needs to be on the brain, the tip of the tongue. Always. We find what we're looking for. It's like the old thing. Look around the room and anything green that you see. Now close your eyes. Name everything that's brown in the room. You can't tell me anything that's
What's brown?
because you were not looking for it. We only find what we're looking for. So it's very important to keep that on the mind. I'm looking, I'm putting out there in the universe. I want something new. I want something that's not in dead end. I want to grow. I want more money. It can start there. It can really start with just a thought. And if that thought is always on your mind and you're always seeking, you're asking friends, you're asking family members, you're looking online, you will find answers, but you do have to put the work in and constantly looking, seeking.
And find what you like.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you find what you like. Me and Laura have turned our lives into careers because we found something that we loved, and we were able to turn it into a job.
Yeah.
We were able to make money from it because we were passionate about it and we seeked it, and we found it, and we loved it.
Also, like, take the leap of faith. Like, don't you, like, babes, like, the answer is never to stay at the dead end job. That's never the answer. That is never the correct answer. Also, I'm going to throw it out there. Read the book, Feel the Fear, and Do It anyways, because that also, I have a lot of different books, but these books will guide you on, they kind of guide you on your pathway and like people that are scared. So it seems like, you know, you're like, damn, should I leave this job? Like there might be a fear in leaving the job or a fear in trying something new. So that can help. With that, I do recommend that book. And then maybe if you're, some people are not into manifesting, like every time I bring it up, they're like, I'm a Christian. And I'm all like, all right. But, you know, if you are into manifesting, I think the orange book, Manifestation, is what's called 7 Steps in Living Your Best Life. I personally think if you wanted to manifest a dream job, I think that book would be fantastic. Also a really short book, easy read. I've read it 3 times now. Can you not
be a Christian and be a manifesting?
You absolutely can.
Because I'm a Christian and I manifest.
I'm a Christian, I think, and I don't know. I think I'm a Christian, but
well, I feel like
you know what I mean. There's a lot of
moving parts. We're not going to church, but we believe in like God and Jesus.
Yes, and
we also believe in manifestation.
It gets hairy because I don't want to say Christians because I just get a lot of kickback from religious people.
Oh, okay, there we go.
That they're like, this is God's work, not the universe. But to me, God created the universe, so it's like all intertwined. But some people get very like sensitive about it, about the word. But I believe in manifestation. I believe we live in a universe that gives as we give, and we receive what we put out, and there's energy, and I've experienced that. So, anyways, if you are interested in that, it's literally, I definitely recommend the book Manifestation.
I love that.
Yeah.
I think energy is just another word for blessings.
Yeah,
it's the same thing.
and the universe, you can, and even a lot of these self-help books are like, the universe can be your God.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
you can, for
It's
you,
that same
it's God,
concept.
it's Jesus.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, God bless me, not the universe.
Totally.
So it's like you
Totally.
can totally,
Intertwine them.
everybody believes different things, and like we're meant to. We're not all meant to be cookie cutter people.
Exactly. I love that. I think that's fantastic advice. Look at you advising.
Look at you.
Okay, let me see. What do I have to do? I have. Let me see. Okay, you know what? This one's interesting. I'm gonna read this one. I have a situation with a man. He's 100% my type. I went on a date with him and it was everything. But he went away on a work trip and hasn't been back since. He also hasn't been keeping up with texting, and I assumed he's not interested, right? So I went back on Hinge and accidentally shot my shot with his bestie. Didn't know they were best friends, but he's fine as fuck. Had no idea that they were even friends. He sent me a screenshot. The guy sent her a screenshot of her pickup line to the best friend, and he got pissed at me. Am I the asshole for moving on because he essentially ghosted me?
Well, Manny, what do you think?
I don't think you're the asshole
I don't
at
either.
all. I think that if he was interested, you'll know. I'm gonna be so real. Men can be very simple about things like that. If a man is interested in you, you're gonna know.
It's also like if he wanted to, he would.
That's what I'm saying.
You know what I mean?
It's the same concept. If he wanted to, he would. If he wanted to keep up with the conversation, he would. And so
if he wanted to be more invested in you, he would. And it's very apparent he wasn't, because you were interested enough to get back on Hinge and go seek another person. So it's like, you snooze, you lose, buddy.
The thing is, the reason he's pissed is because his ego is bruised.
It's his friend. Yep, and it's his friend.
It's
if
his
it was
friend.
another guy, his ego would probably still be
Wouldn't
bruised,
care.
but it's like double bruised because it's his
It's
friend.
double because it has it's the best friend being like, oh, look at this girl that like slid into my DMs or whatever it might be, who matched me, and then he's like, oh my god, I just went on a date with her and it was great. But the thing is, men, just people in general, I think it could be a people thing. When they see something that someone else has that's like the shiny new toy, they're going to be kind of interested in it as well. Men can be like that. Anyone can be like that. They can be just kind of like interested in a something or another where it's like, oh, well, I had that first.
Yeah. So naturally they want it
like
back.
They don't want it. Yes, they want it back. Like it's the thing. It's like that idea of like sharing, and then you see someone else having fun with that toy. You're like, give me that toy back.
Yeah.
I like that toy.
Suddenly
you like that toy again.
Suddenly I'm very available.
It
Which I don't think that's necessarily fair to you.
It's not at all. So you're not the bad person. That's what I'm saying. Like her like being like, am I the fucking asshole for moving on? You're not the asshole for moving on. You're absolutely not.
For me personally, like if this guy was like super invested in me, like super liked me, showing me all the attention and making that very clear to me, and then I moved on to his friend, like I probably just wouldn't and be like, because the guy did me so good, you know what I mean? I'd be like, I'm not interested in you, but I'll go find someone else that's not your friend.
100%.
But I feel like if the guy, when he went on his work trip, kind of like shoved things off and goes to you, listen, if someone wants to be in a relationship or really like someone,
you'll know.
You will know.
You will fucking know.
And I think it's pretty clear that if you went on a dating app, like it's so clear that he didn't do that. So he gave up you, and now it's his friend. So he's like, oh, of course,
that was my toy first.
Yes,
it's that old tale of like, you have an old toy, and you give it to someone, you see them having fun with it, you're like, okay, it's not an old toy anymore. Like I want it back. That's literally this exact situation. But when it comes to talking, dating, and his ego is bruised on top of it, because you decided to move on because he wasn't giving you the attention that you needed. So at the end of the day, you're not in the wrong. I think it's totally fine for you to move on.
Especially you guys weren't like boyfriend, girlfriend.
Exactly. It was one date.
It was a date.
It was one date. So I think I was like, I don't know about like the whole like him being you being with his best friend thing. That could be a hairy situation. But like at the end of the day, you're not in the wrong. And if I was you, I would also be back on Hinge, testing the waters.
Yep. Next one's on friendships.
Ooh.
Advice on nurturing friendships with new moms who have made it their whole personality. When you're not a mom, nor do you plan on being a mom soon. Second part is, I also would like advice on a friend who is 99% negative, having a hard conversation. It's draining the friend group. This is the thing. We feel so guilty of cutting off people that's constantly negative. But I think that we have such a short life, and constantly dealing with negativity is going to drain you. And you're not the villain for cutting off a negative person. Granted, doing it in the best way that you possibly can without a negative outcome. And that person may be so negative that there is no good way.
Yeah.
So be it. But I think protecting your own peace. If someone is toxic and negative all the time, they are going, if you're around them enough, they are going to it will seep into you. And I think it's so important to cut those things off for what they are. I mean, I don't think saying, hey, you're negative all the time, you need to be positive.
No.
I just don't think that really works.
No.
I don't think that works.
Doesn't. And the thing is that people want to be so like, just be fucking brutally honest. Just be a real ass bitch. It doesn't work like that all the time. I think
that always works.
Not like that. Not like that. I'm going to be so fucking for real, because you can go up to a friend and be like, hey, I felt this way. And they will narcissist gaslight the way out of it so quickly. A lot of people can. A lot of friends that especially if they're negative, they live in the more negative realm, they're going to see that as an attack. That's the thing. They already live in that glass
world
half
of negative.
full, empty. In the negative, anything that you do, even coming from a nice place, is going to be seen as negative. So at the end of the day, you need to gracefully and tastefully
exit the premises,
distance yourself in a slow fashion. You don't you just categorize them differently. Okay, they don't need to be in the close circle. They can be kind of more on the outskirts. You can do other things. You don't need
settings. Maybe not one-on-ones, and maybe less and less group. It's an easy way out. That way there's no malicious intent, and then it doesn't become a war between you two and your enemies. You're just, more acquaintances than friends, because they're just too negative for you. And then the part where the mom friends, I think that's where people grow apart a little bit, because I do think some people, and I don't think it's everyone, because I've dealt with both, by the way. Okay, I've dealt with mom friends who didn't make it their whole personality, and they love being a mom, and it's so great, but they still have so many facets of their life that they're very invested in, and like they have everything, right? And then there's some people that are so enthralled and love being a mother so much, it's their whole personality, and then they don't talk about much else, you know what I mean, or have like other things going on, because to them that is their world, and that's all they want to be their world. That's their choice. But I think that is the part where sometimes friendships outgrow. We grow in different directions, and I know that's so hard. I also was talking to a friend the other day who they don't have kids, and they went to a party where the person had a bunch of kids. And the person who didn't have kids was like, that was the worst fucking thing I ever went to. It's like screaming the whole time and shit everywhere. And the whole time they're like chasing after their kids. And I was like, it's just hard, because when people don't have kids, which is me, like I don't have little ones.
Same.
You don't really want to put up with it, especially when it's other people's kids. Exactly. It's not your
It's not
kid.
yours.
And I'm sure there are moms out there that do have kids that also don't want to put up with other people's kids, and they're just not interested.
100%.
So I think when people have children, I think a lot, it makes you grow in a different way. And I think a lot of things split at that time. And sometimes it's unfortunate, but I think it happens. Like, okay, if you're not a mom, not interested in being a mom right now, and you don't want to talk about all mom things, I think, again, that friendship might have to move into a different category of acquaintance a little bit.
Yes, or it doesn't have to be as close. Like, you don't have to be that close. You can be friends, and you can see each other every so often, just to catch up about life. But it doesn't need to be like this closeness. And you also don't have to like completely ostracize either. You can have it where you can recategorize. That's the cool thing about being an adult. You can categorize your friendships in different ways. You can like literally run your whole life. You don't have parents to tell you what to do. You can decide, you know what, this friend was like a really, really good friend of mine, but we just have not as much in common. Maybe I'll see them once every 6 months. Yeah.
And then build new friendships that are kind of on the same page as me. And we're kind of going through the same thing.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? We relate more. And it's sad because I see so many like moms out there, they're like, damn, all my friends abandon me when I have kids. But at the same time, once you have kids, I think it's important to, like if you want to make being a mother like your everything, it's just harder for people who don't have children that's not their everything, or even want children. You have to give and take a little bit. Like you 100%. Have to be willing to, maybe they want to go out for a drink every now and again, maybe they want to talk about something other than kids. And if your friends aren't there for you as much, I think sometimes you have to ask yourself, am I giving them anything other than mother? Which I think, that's great.
Very valid.
You know what I mean? Yeah, you have to ask them. Sorry,
and the thing
am
is, a
I
lot of
only
moms
talking about my kids?
Exactly.
Am I only talking about kids? Am I not interested in any? You know what I mean? Maybe that's why they don't want to hang out.
And a lot of mommies will become friends with a lot of mommies.
Because it works. Because it's like, it totally makes sense. You know what I mean? Because like they can relate so much to one another and they're kind of going through the same thing together. So it's like, I think a big thing in like all this advice is like people outgrowing one another and they feel so forced to stay in those friendships because they don't want to be the villain for leaving.
100%. And the thing is like too, like it also depends on the gravity of your friendship. I'm gonna be real too. Like for example, if you and Tyler had a kid, I will be that kid's gunkle till I die. Like to me, like it would never be like where you're talking about kids too much. Like to me, because I'm so like we're like this.
Yeah.
But as like if it's just a friend that you're just like, we're just like not seeing eye to eye, it's just not gonna be the same anymore. And then and there is a possibility of that grifting sideways.
Yeah. Totally.
It just depends on the you have to like assess too. You have to assess your relationship with that person.
But I also think like not feeling like the villain and like getting the validation that it's okay to grow in different directions. It doesn't mean you can never speak to them again. It just means they might go into like another category. You know what I mean?
Categorizing.
It's
important as an adult. Categorizing is very fierce. I actually have another kid one.
Yeah,
I
let's
screenshot
hear
it because to me I was like, oh, this is like a kind of a fascinating thing to me. Let me see, where did it go? Okay, so this one. I know y'all don't have kids, but thoughts on friends who don't reach out regularly or follow through with seeing you while they're in town, but once you have a baby, they're eager to come by and of course need pictures with your baby to post on their social media. How do I set boundaries without being a bitch?
Ooh,
this is fierce.
Damn, friends using for a baby?
Yes, this is fierce. That one is actually that one's hard. I think that setting boundaries is actually really, really healthy. And I think that as adults, you figure out what works with you and what does not work with you. And it's okay to have these kind of conversations and be like, or even like planting little seeds.
I would be like, okay, let's hang out. I'm not going to have the baby though. I'm going to have so-and-so watch
planting
the baby.
A seed. Exactly. So you're planting these little seeds of like, I see you.
And what if they're like, okay, great. Meet you there.
Then you know that the feelings are genuine.
Yep.
But it's kind of like, I think that if you're planting these little seeds and like they catch on, that's a different story, right? Like let's say if you're like, okay, yeah, for sure, but no photos of the babies, winky face.
Yeah.
Then it's kind of like, I see you doing it and it's kind of weird, but I'm not gonna like make a huge deal out of it. So if you're trying not to be a bitch, you can clock a girly without being an absolute bitch about it. 100%. You can still clock a girl to be like, hey girl, I see you, and just know I see you with what's happening. But I'm not trying to make this a massive deal because I'm not even trying to be an asshole right now. Unless they try to make it a thing, then it's worth the conversation. Then it's kind of like, well, why not?
Open the floor.
If they're like, well, why not? Then great, let the floodgates open.
I feel like every time you're here, you just come to see the baby and use the TikTok. Remember, it's like you're just here for the zip line. You're just here for the pictures with the baby.
Literally,
you don't even love the baby.
No, literally. So I think that's important. It's like you can clock a girly and let her know that you see the tea.
Yeah.
And if they want to be like, no, why not? That's so weird. Then it's time to be like,
open it up.
Open the gates. And I think that's okay. You set boundaries for yourself and it's important. Just, be classy.
Okay. So this one's on being a content creator. Best advice for new content creators. For those of us who have already started, we're consistent. How do we in-game with brands and create those connections that will open us up to new opportunities? Any advice in that area that would be so helpful? So one, I would say be consistent with your content. I think that's one of the most important things that brands look for is like, is this a professional influencer that's actually
taking themselves serious?
Yes, taking themselves serious, like doing this full time versus like, a side job to someone. I think brands definitely lean in more towards people who they can tell that this is their life and their full-time job. You know what I mean? And like, this is a profession for them. Also, brands that you want to specifically work with, I highly encourage you to be talking about those brands and using their products.
Following them.
Following them, commenting on their stuff, and showing them a lot of support, because that then shows the brand that you are a fan of the brand, and then that could work for an organic, working relationship with that brand. But I think, like, obviously hoping it falls in your lap whenever you're not, really heavily promoting the specific brands that you want to work with. I don't think that will ever happen. I mean, it may, but, and I think your chances are much better better with that organic love, showing brands that you really want to work with. And also just like being smart about your content. So let's say you want to work with, this is random, but let's say you want to work with cleaning brands. Like I have a lifestyle page. I really want to work with cleaning brands. How much cleaning content are you posting? Are you like, what products are you using in those cleaning content videos? If you want to work with a specific makeup brand, how many makeup tutorials out of your content are you posting? How good is the quality compared? How good is the quality of that content compared to the content of the people that brand is sponsoring? So let's say
what they're posting on their page.
Yes, exactly. Like let's say it's NYX Cosmetics let's just throw it out there. If I wanted to work with NYX Cosmetics, I would go to their page and go like, who are they working with and what does their content look like? What are those people saying about this brand? What is their lighting? What is their background? How does those people act? You know, are they cussing a lot? You know, it's like different little nuances. To work with those brands can get really specific, but I think like growing your audience in an organic way and being consistent is one of the best ways to attract brands. But also you have to remember, like, some brands are a little more fun and they'll work with people that are more quirky and that have more spice, and some brands absolutely want clean cut. They want people 100%. Whose content that looks like commercials on TV.
I know that well.
Yes, like there's brands out there that won't touch you unless you know your content literally looks all professional,
like a magazine.
You know what I mean? So it's
give and take.
It is.
If you want to be the magazine blogger girly, that's great and fun and all, and like that's like your thing for sure. It's gonna pigeonhole you in a way where it's like those are brands you're gonna work with, and you might not. Let's say it's so funny because like you're the quirky, more relatable person. You might have a bigger audience, right? But the brands that are not into the quirkiness will not work with you. If you're the kind of blogger girly that like the brands want to work with, the followers might be like, girl, how is this even relatable? Like, this is not even like my tea at all. Like, this is so corny.
But working with those like
you're working with the prestige brands.
The prestige brands may be more fulfilling than having that like organic audience to some people. Yeah, and so it just really depends on the brand you want to work for.
And what you want to put out. Like, it really is important. Like, you figure out like what you want. Like, do you want to be the person that's going to be a little bit more relatable, a little bit not so PC, a little bit like kind of just like, you know, keeping it like about yourself, or do you want it to be more curated? That's like really the difference too, is figuring out what you want from the content as well, and then kind of going forth with that path.
I also think we live in a super, super, super saturated world of influencers now that it's almost 2025. There's more influencers now than I've ever obviously seen in our lifetime. And because it's so saturated, it creates a steeper competition. And so I also think it's very important that you are running all of your socials, not just like on TikTok, because now brands want more because, again, the competition's steeper. They want a steady Instagram. They want a steady TikTok and possibly a steady YouTube as well. So again, being a content creator is a full-time job because 100%. Like you have to feed all the different bees. But brands, like for instance, if they see you have a huge TikTok and literally nothing going on Instagram, that is a negative for them. They don't like to see that. They like to see, you know, it be powerful on all social media. So that's something else to make sure you're feeding all the beasts, not just one.
Especially because like what something happens to the one, you're
that
fucked.
Too.
You're
that
literally
too.
fucked. You need to be able to be smart and just be smart about the content. And also when it comes to like even making connections around content creation, like go to events, especially when you're first starting out.
Unless you don't live in an area.
Unless you don't live in of course. But if you're like in LA and you want to like make things happen, or you live in San Diego, like when I was starting out and I wanted to make connections in the industry, I would drive up from San Diego to events all the time. And like just for the sake of like being in the scene and like kind of putting my name out there, putting my face out there, really meeting people, like that was really, really important to me to make sure I had like a lot of face value, because I knew that when people met me, they would like me.
That's why so many influencers live in Los Angeles, because while it may not be as fair, but brands opportunities come from the PR side of the brand. And so everybody tries to be best friends with the PR people to get those opportunities. And the PR people tend to work with the influencers that show them more love. It's bias. It's it's biased.
Well, it's it's like a two-way street.
Yeah. Like
the influencers loving that brand, the brand's loving the influencer partner.
But a lot of times, like the friendship, then the connection that develops behind the scene with the PR person is where a lot of the partnerships go, I feel. So
100%.
that, like Manny's saying, showing face value and going to events if you can is important because of that.
Yes.
And also, like, let's say you can't do that. I think reaching out to the brand and being able to show the plethora of support that you've already shown them and just say, I would love to be on the PR list or I'd love to work with you guys. I think they can go a really long way.
I do too.
It could also be ignored, but who cares?
As you tried.
What did that take? You know what I mean? Like,
It took a DM.
Who cares?
Maybe
It took
just
a DM.
Send
It was
the
a
DM.
DM.
Send the DM.
So.
Honestly, I could not agree more with you. Okay, let's see. Next one. I've been with my partner for almost 7 years. He's 20 years older than me. We've had countless conversations about moving forward with marriage and moving in, but nothing ever materializes. At this point, I feel lost. Should I just move on so I know he's not a sugar daddy? My opinion is okay, this is what I think. Do you feel like marriage has to happen to be happy? I'm going to be real. Because a lot of the times, again, this is, to me, in my opinion, societally, we think that we've grown up with that marriage is how everything just comes to.
It's how it's supposed to work.
It's how it works. You get happy with someone. You start dating, boyfriend, girlfriend. Marriage is just the next step in the evolution of being naturally.
For society.
It's naturally, that's what it is. So do you feel like because you are not getting married, you cannot be happy with your partner? Ooh. I'm gonna be real, because the thing is, especially because I assessed this a lot when I was younger, because being gay, you know, obviously gay marriage wasn't legal. So it's like gays would be like, well, if we don't get married, does that mean we're not happy together?
Right.
You know, so like that was like kind of like a big topic for a lot of gay people growing up. So it's like I've come to realize that like society really has placed a lot of importance on the idea of marriage, and that that signed paper is what is making sure that
they love you,
that they love each other to marry you.
Yeah,
yes,
like it's real.
Like it's real, but it's like, what makes love not real because marriage isn't there?
Yeah.
At the same time,
I like that.
I think that's the part that's really, really important. If marriage to you is what will make you happy, I think that's a different conversation.
I agree.
Don't you think?
Like if you're like, no, like this is what I've dreamed of. This is what I wanted my whole life. I've always wanted to be married. I think, again, we always have two decisions. It's either find a way to be happy in the situation that we are in without it changing, or the situation has to change. And that would be a serious conversation with your partner. I don't know if that's an ultimatum, but maybe just like, I'm sure you've explained that you want it to be married. And
they
like,
said they've had conversations about it.
Right. So like, is the partner completely like
do
no?
they not want to?
Are they just like it's a hardcore no? Or have you explained to them
It's
like
nothing materializes. So it's like they've had conversations, but nothing comes of it. So it's like, this is tough, because I feel like it's, again, that situation where it's like,
I think you have to say, I want to be married. If that's if that's like really what you want.
Totally.
I think you do have to go to your partner. I think you have to say, I want to get married. Is this a yes or no for you? I think at some point it has to come to that. You know what I mean?
And some people just have like non-negotiables.
Yeah.
If that is your version of non-negotiable, like, I have to get married because that's just like what I feel like I want to do, and I've always wanted to do that, that's totally fine. That's your prerogative. You can do whatever the hell you want. I'm just trying to give you another way of looking at it, of like, are you not happy if you're not married? Like, do you see yourself not being happy if you're not married with this person? If you've been with them for 7 years and things haven't gone to the marriage status, is that make or break for you? Some people it might be break.
And I think that's okay too,
that's okay.
because like if marriage is something that you yearn for and that you want it in your life, I don't think that that's a bad thing. And I also don't think it's a bad thing if you don't. But if it is a want that you're constantly going to feel and want, I do think, either you change and don't want it anymore and just be happy with what you have, or you get married, or you find someone that wants to marry you.
I think it really is like,
but you can't force someone. Like you can't be like, this is my advice to like get him to want to marry you. That's just not how life works at all. It's like at the end of the day, like I think it starts with a conversation of like how you honestly feel.
Yes, and how he feels too, and
not it be just like a neutral go around and there be no resolution.
I agree. I think you just have I know you've had a conversation obviously before, but like the importance is really figuring out why it hasn't come to fruition yet. I think that's the part of the conversation that you might be missing, is being like, well, why haven't we done it yet if we've already talked about it? I think that's important, because then you're going to get to the bottom of hopefully, of the reason why he hasn't proposed yet, or why you guys haven't got married yet, or like what, the idea of marriage, or like, and if you want to have that or not. You know, I think that you need to have a conversation about that.
And that is it for our advice segment on full coverage.
I loved it. I feel like it's like a different cadence, a different vibe of filming, but I enjoyed it. Like we have other facets to us as well. We can be advice givers and serious at
many
times.
accolades we have.
Just so many hats that we wear.
Yes.
I loved it.
Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. You guys throw in some advice too. Don't forget to leave a comment down below. You guys heard all these stories. Thank you for everyone that submitted. Sorry we didn't get to every single, questions on advice, but we did try to pick some that we thought that would cater to a lot of different people and what they're experiencing in life. But we hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a comment, and we'll see you in our next episode.
Love you guys. Bye.